Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Ba'd. My brothers and sisters, today we are on key 5 of the 7 keys to success, and that is perhaps one of the most important ones of them, and that is managing change. Leadership is all about managing change. How to manage change, how to initiate change, how to drive change, how to see change through to a successful conclusion. There are many people who have great ideas. There are many people who even start off with that great idea and to try to put it into practice. But there are fewer people, or very few people, who can take it to a logical, to its logical ending, to a final point of success and achievement. And that is what I'm going to try and tell you and show you and help you experience how to do that. Now, I want to share with you 3 quotes before we go forward. The first one is the most critical ability is the ability to initiate, to sustain, and to drive change. And Eric Hoffer, he says in times of change, learners, in times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. We understand from this the whole dynamic of change and how everything has a shelf life, and knowledge has a shelf life, especially in today's world of rapid, disruptive, and very transformational change. Knowledge has a very short shelf life. So unless we, if you ask me what is the most critical ability that anybody can or should develop, I would say it is the ability to change. It is the ability to take yourself from where you are and re-engineer yourself into something which is more effective, more powerful in a completely new context. Change is the process of unfreezing, moving, and refreezing. And if we can continuously do this process over and over again, then believe me, we can be highly successful no matter how the circumstances around us may change. But if we fail in that, if we get stuck somewhere and we are unable to change, and this happens to a lot of people, it happens to a lot of people, it happens to most of us with age. As we grow older, our ability to learn new things, make new friends, learn new skills slows down, and for some people it almost stops. But if it really happens with old age, then maybe you can manage with it somehow, because by then you would be quite old. But for a lot of people, this is something which happens very early in life, and that is extremely detrimental. If you find yourself feeling frozen in any situation where anything new either scares you, or it is stressful, or it is something which you would rather not have, then believe me, these are danger signals. These are danger signals. You should see any change, anything new as something exciting, something which is worth learning. This sense of curiosity in the human being is perhaps the most important asset that we have. Sense of curiosity, sense of wanting to know, what's beyond the next mountain, what's around the next bend, no matter what it is. This, what does it mean to make new friends? What do I need to do to adapt myself to a new culture, to new people, learning new languages, being inquisitive and curious about new cultures, about other religions, about other politics, about other societies. All of these are wonderful strengths to have, and I would strongly recommend that if you find yourself deficit in any of these, then that is a deficiency that you must correct as quickly as possible. Be prepared for the fact that it will be painful, at least initially. But once you get over that pain, then it's very, very enjoyable, amazingly enjoyable. So, to repeat Eric Hoffer's wonderful quote, he said, "In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to live in a world that no longer exists." Another one of Peter Senge, one of my favorite writers and authors, uh, who talked about his book called Fifth Discipline. He talks about the learning organization, an organization which is focused on learning, which continuously monitors its learning, stores its learning, and learns from its daily lessons. Sometimes I ask my business clients to tell me what do they know. Yes, I say, what do you know? And of course, everybody looks very bewildered when I ask them, what do you know? So I tell them, whichever area you are in, whether you are in manufacturing, whether you are in sales, whether you are in some of the service industries, what are the lessons that you are learning on a daily basis? By you, I mean every single one of your employees. So you have a salesperson there who's on the street. He or she is walking the street. They are meeting clients. They are talking to people. They are facing difficulties. They are solving problems. That learning which they are getting, and remember that learning they are getting at your expense because you are paying them a salary. Where is that learning? Have you captured it somewhere? Do you have a database of your daily lessons that you learned? And I have yet to find an organization which has such a database. If there is such an organization, please get in touch with me. I would love to meet you. A database of daily learnings where your employees at the end of the day are entering their learnings into that database. Ideally speaking, if they can do that while the learning is going on, right? Work out the technology issues involved, and I don't think it's a terribly difficult thing with our smartphones and so on and so forth. Things don't need to be typed out. They can just speak and so forth, and maybe upload videos, pictures, interactions, whatnot. Now, why is that important? It's important because this is your real capital, which you are paying for and which you are acquiring. Unfortunately, you don't know what you are acquiring. There is no way of accessing it, and when that employee leaves, that capital, that learning leaves with him or her. The saving grace is that most of the time the employee themselves is not aware of what they learned, right? But at the end of the day, this is your capital. It's like if I go to a bank and I ask the bank manager, how much money do you have? And the bank manager says, oh, we have lots of money. So what's the meaning of lots of money? I need a number, right? What's the meaning of lots of money? So daily learning. Why is it important? As I said, this is your learning. This is what you are learning on a daily basis. What are the problems? How do you solve them? Where are the opportunities? Where are the signs which are there and they are screaming out at you, but you are too deaf to listen. They're screaming out at you about what the future holds for you. What are the traps of the future? What are the beautiful points of advantage of the future, and so on? The world is telling us this on a daily basis. Do we capture it anywhere? Now, why is that important? Because if you can capture it and you can keep it, and especially if you have it in a searchable database, then this is positive. This is an absolute treasure house of learnings, of knowledge for anyone who joins your organization. So you don't have to spend a phenomenal amount of time and energy repeating the same old things in induction courses. Just tell them, go look into this database, read. You will find some more very beautiful stories, absolutely amazing incidents and life experiences of people. Just learn from it. Imagine how exciting it would be for those people who join, and how much of time you would save, and how much of effort and energy and money and pain you would save, just because you are able to leverage the wealth of learning that your organization has already acquired and which you have already paid for. It's amazing. It's like having a bank with the vault doors wide open and people just walking in and out. You have no clue what is coming in, what is going out, how much cash you have and what you don't have. This is how most people run their organizations. Now, looking at it from a personal level, if I ask you this question individually, every one of you who's attending this course, who's watching this video, what do you know? How many of you can answer me that question? What do you know? I asked this question to myself many, many years ago. And I have this habit of recording everything I have, everything I learn, my thoughts, my ideas, what I do, and so on, experiences. The result is 40 books, all out of my life. It's not magic. You can do that. Anybody can do that. I'm not special. I'm your ordinary garden variety lizard. It's just that I do things in a systematically structured way. That's it. So do this for yourself. Create a blog, create a whatever, and on top of that write a line, what do I know? And then keep putting in data. Whatever you learn, keep entering it there, whichever form. And then every once in a while, go over that, read it. It's your own life. It's your own words. Read it. You will be amazed. You will absolutely be amazed at how much knowledge you acquired through your life. But because we don't do that, individually we have no clue, collectively we have no clue as organizations, as families we don't know. So you might have this elderly person in your home, your grandfather, your grandmother, or somebody, who is an absolute repository of the most wonderful stories and the most wonderful thoughts and ideas, which can be of huge, huge, huge benefit for you, but they just vegetate and they die. Nobody takes advantage of that. That is so sad. Right? That is so sad. I spoke to Mr. A.M.M. Arunachalam, the one of the founders of the Murugappa group. And as a result of speaking to him, I wrote a book called The Business of Family Business. Now, the book is about my learning about how family businesses are run and how they are initiated, and then by my life experience of what to do with them and how what mistakes they make and how to solve them and so on. But I'm saying that here was this elderly gentleman, A.M.M. Arunachalam, who was the head of the Murugappa family. I can probably say quite confidently that I spoke more to him about his family's business than his own family would have done. And the result is I gained enormously, and I dedicated my book to him. So please do that. Now, second, so Peter Senge says, he talks about perspective, and this is another one of my favorites. I keep saying this all the time. To give you an idea of what is perspective, supposing you get lost, especially if you get lost in a trackless flat plain, in a desert, or sometimes even in a forest, and you have no clue which direction is what, then you would look for a high place of some kind, a rocky hill or something, or a tree or whatnot, climb on top, and then look around, and that will give you an idea of what is around you. And maybe you see a highway going in the distance, or you see a train, or you see which is the track of a train, or you see a light somewhere or something, and it gives you an idea of which direction to take to get out of this place. So when you are there, what is happening? You have two pictures in your mind, where you are and where you want to be. And there is a positive energy. You want to go to that place. So that place is pulling you, and you know where you are and where that place is. Without perspective, it is impossible to give anybody any direction. It's impossible to guide anybody. Supposing somebody says, I want to come to where you are. How do I get there? So what's the first question I will ask him? I say, where are you? Oh, I don't know where I am. If you don't know where I am, then I can't guide you to where I am. At best, I will tell you, well, go to Times Square, New York, and from there, do this. So Peter Senge says about perspective, the natural energy for changing reality comes from holding a picture of what might be that is more important to people than what is. Perspective, he says, it is the natural energy for changing reality comes from holding a picture of what might be that is more important to people than what is. Now, I want you to hold this quote and this description in your mind, because in the next quote which I want to share with you, which I call the personal side of change, we will see this in a little more detail. There are two things here. I say to you that people don't resist change. They resist being changed. They don't resist change. People will change when they want to change. They just resist being changed. And people do things for their reasons, not yours. Another way of putting it is don't resist change. They resist you changing them. So what must you do? If you as a leader want to change somebody and change people, that's what leadership is all about. Leadership is about changing people. Taking them from where they are to where they can be. Helping them realize their potential, helping them become the most powerful, the most accomplished, the most satisfied, the most productive people that they can be. That's what leadership is. How do you do that? By helping them to see WIIFM. Keep this in mind. WIIFM. This is the FM station that everyone listens to. What is that? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Just keep this thought in your mind and hold it there, that everybody in the world has this question in their mind whenever they are faced with any situation. What's in this for me? What's in it for me? So if I tell you to change, then you are asking me this question. Why should I change? What's in it for me? Now the point is this, that most people, and especially in our cultures, we are too polite to actually ask this question to the face. But you can take my word for it. This question is in the mind of every human being. What's in it for me? Why must I do what you are telling me to do? And how must I answer that question? What's in it for me? I must help them to see what's in it for them. Then I don't have any problem with changing them. They will change on their own because they will see what benefit they will get from it. And unless they see the benefit that they are going to get from that change, forget about it. It's not happening. Now I want you to do an exercise, very quick one, which is thinking of change. Right? Thinking of change. Go back in your life and think about something that you changed successfully within yourself or within your in your team, in your family, in society, in the world. Something that you changed successfully. And when you have done that, now think the opposite. What did you fail to change? What could you not change? You wanted to change that, it didn't happen. And ask the same question for both, which is why? Why is it that you were able to change something successfully, and why is it that for something else you were not able to change? What was the reason? Right? Think about this and answer this question for me. Now, let's do an exercise. Everyone, I'm going to ask you this question. In the workshop, you would have done the exercise. But for those of you who are just watching the video, do this thing now. Which is, I want you to stand up and change 10 things in yourself. 10 things. And keep account of that. Right? Keep account of that. Do it thoughtfully. Change 10 things in yourself. Now, after you've changed 10 things, now change 10 new things in yourself. Undoing a change is not change. When I told you the first time, change 10 things in yourself, if you took off your glasses, putting them back on doesn't count. Right? So, change 10 new things in yourself. Now, once you've done that, I want you to go back and sit down. Go back to your places. Right? And then I'm going to ask you 4 questions. First question is this. Did you like this exercise? Did you like doing this exercise? And I'm sure you didn't. Right? You didn't like to. At least initially, you did not like to do this exercise. The reason is because unexplained change is uncomfortable. Change by itself is bad, but unexplained change is very uncomfortable. People need to understand the reasons. to change. WIIFM. They need to understand why you want them to change and how it will help them. Second thought. How many of you thought that it was impossible to make the changes? I told you change 10 things. How many of you immediately thought in your mind, my God, 10 things, how can I do? I can't do 10 things. My question to you is, how do you know? When was the last time you changed 10 things in yourself? I bet you never did that in your life. So how do you know you can't do it? And to make matters worse, I then say, change 10 new things in yourself. So how many of you thought to yourself, this is completely impossible? Why? Why do we start from this point of thinking that something that you never did before is impossible? Impossible can only mean that I did it and I know that it cannot be done because I tried my best. But if you never did something, how do you know it's not possible? The best you can say is, I don't know if I can do it. Now, that is an honest statement. But if you are thinking it is impossible, then that's not an honest statement. So why do we do that? And that's because we look at change from the perspective of the rear view mirror. You're not looking through the windscreen, you're looking at the rear view mirror. And what do you see in the rear view mirror? Past experience. So that's the reason why goals of change always appear to be impossible at first. Then let me ask you another question. What was the first thing you changed? When I said change 10 things about yourself, what is the first thing you changed? Almost invariably, you would have taken off something. I take off my glasses, I take off my cap, I take out my pen from here and put it somewhere else. Right? Something you took off. I didn't say take off things. I just said change 10 things. But invariably, almost everyone takes off something. Now, that is because most of us think of change as losing something. But you would have noticed if you were doing this exercise. This exercise normally I do it in the group, and those of you who came to the workshop, you would have experienced this thing yourself. You would have seen that some people make this change, and at some point, instead of taking things off, they start putting things on. They start picking things up. So I didn't have a pen, now I have a pen, and I had the pen in my pocket, now I take out another pen from here and I put it behind my ear. So I now have a pen behind my ear, and so on. Right? This paradigm shift from change equals loss to change equals gain is the most critical paradigm shift that you will make. And the reason is because if change has to equal to loss, then there is always a limit to that change. If I am going to take things off, then what will I take off when I have taken everything off? And nobody ever reaches the point of taking everything off. You will never take everything off. So it means that your change got stopped after a little while. But if I interpret change as taking things up or putting things on, then that change is indefinite. It has no boundaries. It is boundaryless. Because if I have to acquire things, then I can acquire any number of things. But if I have to lose things, then there is only that much I can lose. And that is the reason why this critical paradigm shift is so important. Fourth question and last one. How many of the changes you made are still with you? And you will find that most of them are not with you. You put your cap back, you put your glasses back, you put your coat back, everything, because the change was forced, it was not really beneficial, it was not comfortable, it was not particularly nice. So the moment you have a chance, you go back to the old situation. Now you will find this happening throughout your life with all kinds of behavioral changes. If change is not seen as beneficial for the system, it will not sustain itself. Except changes which are made where returning to the um original is actually impossible because that original has disappeared. But even there, the person is left with an unpleasant feeling because the change has been forced on them, even though it may have been forced and sustained, but still it's forced. There are two aspects to change that I want you to think about. One is change as a threat, which is fear of the unknown. Basically, that's what change is, right? Fear of the unknown. This is one of the major reasons why people remain in toxic marriages. They're getting beaten up every day, all kinds of things are happening, but they will not leave, they will not seek a divorce because they don't know what will happen. You ask them what will happen, what can happen, right? What is this fear? But no, I am not going to leave. I will not leave because I don't know what will happen. And they live a miserable, horrible life for no reason. I remember a good friend of mine, she got divorced after I think, I don't know how many years, but they had a son also. And then I met her after she got divorced. I said, how's everything? What's happening with you? She says, what's in my mind and what I've been thinking all this while is, I should have got divorced 10 years ago. I don't know why I lived through that unnecessary period of pain. So giving up the known and secure is difficult, even if the existing state is very undesirable and painful. And that's why it's very important to see change from a positive perspective, because then you can change. Change always comes with opportunities. The opportunity to embrace new ways of thinking and doing and new relationships. And people who've been through change and had positive experiences, they are much more willing to try that again. So in an organizational setup, look for such role models, celebrate them, make them visible, because they will be the catalyst for others to follow in the same way. Now, as an exercise again, sit down and write for yourself a reflective paragraph. What is the single biggest change challenge that you face in life today? And what do you see as answer three questions. What do you see as your main strength to face the challenge? What do you fear the most? And what's your plan to overcome this? Right? Now, I want to say to you is in change, one of the most beneficial things is feedback. Biggest asset. So always seek feedback. And remember that feedback is not always verbal. People don't always tell you the truth because they are embarrassed in some cases. In some cases, they might be afraid of telling you the truth. In some cases, they probably, it's their belief. I mean, they might think that you will be offended, so they don't want to tell you, and so on. But eyes, faces, gestures, expressions, they all speak, so listen well. And don't discount any feedback, either good or critical. In both cases, I find people who discount it. Right? Critical feedback is, oh, no, but you didn't understand. Oh, but you see, you. And good feedback also, oh, maybe this person is not sincere. No, take it. If the person is telling you something, it is true. That is how you came across to them. So don't discount the negative and don't discount the positive. Now, quick ones about how to give feedback and how to receive feedback, because not everything is feedback. Opinion is not feedback. Feedback is not opinion. So if I say to you, I think this is what you should do, this is an opinion. It's not haram, it's not illegal, but it's not feedback. So first and foremost, if you're going to give feedback, ask yourself this question. Are you concerned about that person or are you reacting? Never, if you want to scream at somebody, go scream. Don't call it feedback. If you're angry at somebody, you want to chew them out, go chew them out, spit them out. Don't call it feedback. It's not feedback. So reaction is not feedback. Right? So ask yourself genuinely, am I genuinely concerned about this individual to give them feedback? If you're not genuinely concerned, forget about it. You don't need to be genuinely concerned about the whole world and his wife. So if you're not concerned about somebody, no problem. But don't give them feedback and don't react as a reactionary way. Don't give feedback. Second rule, and very important, positive in public, critical in private. Don't criticize people publicly. It is humiliating. It doesn't serve the purpose because the person will then be so hurt and upset and insulted by what you have said that they will not listen to the meaning of what you are saying. Number 3, talk about yourself. Don't say you shouted. Say, this is how you came across to me. Why are you angry? No. You are coming across to me as if you are angry. Is this true? Right? Talk about yourself because that's the only truth. The only truth is this is how I heard you. Don't say you said this or you pronounced it. No. This is how I heard. Number 4, give data to support your statement. Right? I like your speech because you kept to the point. You never digressed. When you mentioned something separately, you said on another note, and you immediately just one point, and you came back to the main theme. That you're giving specific data. And last one, watch your language always to ensure that it's not an opinion. If you are saying I think, I feel, all of these are opinions. Then, how to receive feedback? Listen carefully. And if the person is giving opinions, ask them for data. You say, thank you very much for your opinion. How did you arrive at that opinion? What is the data? Don't fight with them. Ask for data. Then consider it carefully. And then third one is either accept it or reject it. But remember, it's your life. If you are going to reject feedback which is fair, which is good for you, then you are losing. But at the same time, you don't have to accept everything which everyone tells you. Now, how to deal with painful feedback? Remember Sarah. Who is Sarah? Sarah is S-A-R-A-H. S is shock. A is anger. R is resistance or denial. A is acceptance. H is help. Now this wonderful process was actually discovered by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She was a professor, if I'm not mistaken, in Harvard, and she did some wonderful research on terminally ill patients, especially when they got news of terminal illness. So you get news that you have pancreatic cancer and you've got 3 months to live. How do you deal with that news? And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross came to the conclusion, and she devised this thing to say, people react in this way. The first reaction is shock. What? Me? Rubbish. I've got no symptoms. The scan is wrong. Doctor is a fool. I'm not dying. Shock. And anger. Right? So it's really shock, anger and resistance, all three together in this whole thing. I get angry, I'm shocked, I resist, no, this is rubbish, denial, absolutely not happening. And then gradually when it sinks in, we accept. Okay, so it's happening. It means I had 3 months. The day I was told, I spent out of that 3 months, I spent 2 months in shock, anger, and resistance. I've got 1 month left. Let me make the best of that 1 month. What can I do in the 1 month, which is going to be beneficial for me when I die? Acceptance and help, and that at that stage the person says, okay, let me seek some help, and maybe I need to go make Umrah, for example, or make Tawbah, Istighfar, may I seek repentance, maybe meet my friends, and seek pardon for whatever I did to anybody in case I did something like that. Write my will, ensure that all my affairs are taken care of, all loose ends are tied, all of this. Right? Now, the same process happens when somebody receives critical feedback. The first reaction is shock. Me? No one ever told me that. You are telling me this. I don't accept. Shock. Anger. I'm angry. Why are you telling me this thing? Something is, you have a bad intention, ulterior motive. You're trying to pull me down. And then resistance. I will not accept. In the case of terminal illness, people go from hospital to hospital, doctor to doctor, all over the place. And they keep getting the same report until it strikes them that not all the doctors cannot be wrong. So similarly, in the case of critical feedback, a person won't accept. They will resist. And they will keep on with that and deny. And then the person eventually accepts and says, yes, this is true. I have done this, I am like this, and that is now I am starts. Then they start seeing the linkage. Oh, this is the reason why I am unable to retain a job for more than a couple of years, because this is what is happening to me. This is how my relationships are getting soured, and this is how I am unable to build great, and lead great teams, and so on and so forth. Right? Acceptance. And then help. Now, okay, so I think I need to change. Now what must I do? Who should I talk to? I need somebody to help me. I need a coach. I need a mentor. Now, the reason I'm saying all this to you is because when you are going through this process, try to recognize the stages. And when you see this in somebody else, you can help them. And if you're seeing that in yourself, you help yourself. How? As far as the shock, anger, and resistance are concerned, the sooner, the quicker you get through that process, the more time you have for acceptance and help. It's only after acceptance and help that something positive will happen. If you spend all your life in denial, you're going to stay there. Nothing is going to change, and you will continue to do whatever you're doing, and you will continue to suffer. So if you can recognize the process and if you can take it forward, then that is the most beneficial thing for you. Now, why must we change? Because if you adapt to change, if you don't adapt to change, you will die. But just adaptation is not enough. So if you adapt to change, you will survive. But survival alone is not a goal, right? Survival is not a goal. Survival is a default setting. Better than survival is growth. For growth, you need to anticipate change. You need to change before there is a need to change. You must change before there is a need to change. You need to be prepared. It's like if you want to catch a ball in cricket, you need to be where the ball is going to fall. So you need to run and get yourself into that place and be ready to receive the ball when it is coming out of the sky. Anticipate the change. And then the most powerful is transformation. In that case, you are the game changer. You own the game. One is to win the game because you know the rules, and the other one is you learn the rules and win the game. The other one is you rewrite the rules of the game, and then you are the game owner. Now, in order to reinforce change, if you want people to do something, give them a reason to do it. And that's why I said WIIFM. Right? I want to end with a little story. This wonderful story is, there was this village in which there was this school, and the school had they had a race of all these children. They were doing a running race. And there was a big crowd around them, and all their parents and so on collected. And the race started, and there was a little boy in the front who was running lot of energy, running fast, right in the front. and suddenly he hit there was a wet spot on the track, and he slipped and he fell. Now when the boy fell, he thought to himself, oh, finish, this race is over. This race is gone, finished, because I'm gone. I fell in the race now. But suddenly he remembered his father's face, and his father's saying, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. So the little boy stood up again and he started running. Now he's fallen back. So he's running very hard. And as he's catching up, he's running very hard and he's catching up, and now he's caught up and he's right somewhere in the middle. He's caught up with the tail laggers in the middle, and again, second time he falls. And he thinks to himself, I'm done. Now this is the end. 2 times you fall in a race. But he sees his father's face again. His father is saying, come on, get up, get up, get up. So he gets up again and he runs again. Very hard. Now this is the final lap. And as he's running, again he falls. 3rd time. He says, this is finished. He thinks to himself, there's nothing after this. But he sees his father's face again. And the father says, come on, this is the last lap. Come on, the finish line is right there. So the little boy gets up again and he runs. And of course, by now all the kids have gone ahead, and this little boy is running on his own right at the end, but he's still running and he's putting his whole heart and soul into this. Of course, the first one who came first, he came first, and he's jumping with joy and making a lot of noise and so on, and people are clapping. But then as this little boy comes out, there's no one there, he's running alone. And as he crosses the finish line, there is this huge, huge, huge cheer. And everyone is surprised. Wow, everyone is cheering for this guy who came last. This little boy goes to his father and he says, I failed. He's crying. He says, Dad, I failed. His father says, no. No. You rose every time you fell. That is success. You didn't fail. You rose every time you fell. That is success. That's why I say to you, never lose focus on the process. So to end now, as we do all the time, think about your action plan. What is it that you don't do now which you should be doing in order to facilitate change? Number 2, what is it that you're doing now which is negative, which you should stop doing? And number 3, what is it that you are doing now which is positive, which you should do consistently, and you should do that without fail, right? I wish you all the very best. Change is one of the most important things that you will ever do in your life, and it's something that if you learn how to do it, and you will win all the time. Thank you very much for coming to this program, and see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.